Hazardous materials training. Objectives: maintain compliance with our hazardous materials building permit. Understand hazard communication. Universal waste. Identify, prepare, disposal. Hazardous materials. Identify, label, safety data sheets, SDS, storage, inventory, hazardous waste, storage, label, disposal. Understand spill and release protocols. Hazardous materials building permit. Purpose: protect public health, environment, and groundwater from risks or adverse effects associated with the storage and disposal of hazardous materials. Businesses must complete and file a hazardous materials business plan for the safe storage and use of chemicals. This creates a plan to safely store and manage the amounts of hazardous materials that can be legally stored on site. Reportable quantities meet or exceed the following thresholds: liquids, 55 gallons, solids, 500 pounds, compressed gases, 200 cubic feet. Failure to comply will lead to priority corrective actions and possible fines during county inspections. Hazard communication. What is hazard communication? Also known as the right to know law. It provides all Elk Grove Unified School District employees and outside contractors working in the Elk Grove Unified School District with standard operating procedures for handling of hazardous substances and potentially hazardous substances. It is intended to provide information and guidelines regarding hazardous chemicals or substances and the identification and control of hazardous chemicals or substances as they may appear in the workplace. Hazard Communication Standard. The Hazard Communication Standard contains information about dangers of the chemicals used on the job, how to safely store chemicals, including chemical inventory, proper labeling in manufacturer and secondary containers, safety data sheets, SDS, how to safely store chemical waste, the chemical waste removal process, hazard communication training components. Types of waste. Types of waste at sites. Universal waste, batteries, bulbs, empty aerosol cans, e-waste. Hazardous chemical waste, waste oil, photography waste, non-empty aerosol cans, expired and or used science chemicals. Biological waste, including bloodborne pathogen waste and waste from biology experiments. Vapa department waste, such as paint, dry clay, photography chemicals. Industrial arts waste, including automotive oil, oil filters, oily rags, used coolant or solvents. Universal waste. Common universal wastes. These include batteries. Most battery categories, including alkaline, lithium, lead acid, and NiCad. This is due to toxic metals and or corrosivity. This does not include automotive, marine, or other deep cycle type batteries. Lamps, fluorescents, compact fluorescents, incandescents, HID, and LED bulbs. Hazardous due to mercury. E-waste, keyboards, monitors, computers, phones. Toxic materials used in manufacturing. Aerosol cans. Contents of can must be emptied to the fullest extent possible. Contact your site custodian for pickup and disposal of these items. If the aerosol can still contains a substance due to loss of propellant or faulty spray mechanism, treat as hazardous waste. Set aside to be removed with a scheduled hazardous waste pickup. Properly preparing batteries for disposal. Certain types of batteries require the terminals to be taped down prior to storage or disposal in order to prevent fire or explosions. Lithium cell, primary cell, and button-style batteries. Sealed lead acid batteries. 6-volt batteries, including alkali. 9-volt batteries, including alkali. Put tape over the terminals, ensuring they cannot make contact with other battery terminals. Properly prepared batteries. Here are some examples. Identifying hazardous materials. Characteristics of hazardous materials: ignitable, corrosive, reactive, toxic. Ignitables: easily combustible or flammable. Most common hazard class can be gas, liquid, or solid. Corrosive: Corrosive acids have a pH of 0, 1, and 2. Corrosive bases have a pH of 12, 13, and 14. Upon contact, will cause immediate damage to eyes or skin. Will generate heat due to chemical reaction. Will corrode steel. Reactive. Normally unstable, readily undergoes violent change. Generates toxic gases, vapors, or fumes when mixed with water or other substances. Can react violently with water or other substances. Toxic. Poses a hazard to human health or environment through carcinogenicity, acute, immediate toxicity, chronic, ongoing from repeated exposure toxicity, bioaccumulative, persistence in the environment. Hazard rating systems. There are two recognized systems, NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, HMIS, Hazardous Materials Identification System. Overview of the NFPA diamond. Blue diamond, health hazard. Level 0, normal material. Level 1, slightly hazardous. Level 2, hazardous. Level 3, extreme danger. Level 4, deadly. Red diamond, fire hazard. Flashpoint occurs at the following. 0, will not burn. Level 1, above 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Level 2, below 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Level 3, below 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Level 4, below 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Yellow diamond, instability. Level 0, stable. Level 1, unstable if heated. Level 2, violent chemical change. Level 3, shock and heat may detonate. Level 4, may detonate. White diamond, specific hazard. Some examples include radiation, no use of water, corrosive, alkali, acid, or oxidizer. NFPA diamond, sulfuric acid example. Sulfuric acid, colorless to dark brown, oil, odorless liquid. Corrosive, causes severe burns to eyes, skin, respiratory tract. May cause blindness. Chronic, tooth erosion, GI disturbances, and dermatitis. Reaction with water produces excessive heat. Blue, the health hazard, shows us this is potentially deadly. Red, fire hazard, shows this is not flammable. Yellow, the reactivity diamond, shows this is moderately reactive. And white includes the symbol for water reactivity. Overview of the HMIS label. There are 5 HMIS hazard levels. 0, minimal. 1, slight. 2, moderate. 3, serious. 4, severe. There are also 4 color codes for each chemical. The blue bar, health. Red, flammability. 1, reactivity. And the white bar is for a personal protection level. HMIS label, sulfuric acid example. Blue bar, health, level 2, moderate. Red bar, flammability, level 0, non-existent. Yellow bar, reactivity, level 1, slight. White bar, personal protective code, C. Personal protection equipment codes in HMIS system. As you can see, as you go higher in the alphabet code, the more personal protective equipment is required for the chemical. A, safety glasses. B, safety glasses and gloves. C, safety glasses, gloves, and an apron. D, face shield, gloves, and an apron. E, safety glasses, gloves, and a dust respirator. F, safety glasses, gloves, apron, and a dust respirator. G, safety glasses, vapor respirator. H, splash goggles, gloves, apron, and a vapor respirator. I, safety glasses, gloves, and a dust or vapor respirator. J, splash goggles, gloves, apron, and a dust or vapor respirator. K, airline hood or mask, gloves, full suit, and boots. X, Ask supervisor or safety specialist for handling instructions. Chemical labels. Original manufacturer containers must be properly labeled with the following information: product identifier, chemical name, code number or batch number. Label and section 1 of the SDS must match. Signal words: danger or warning, only one of the two used per label. Danger, more severe hazard. Warning, less severe hazard. Hazard statements describe the nature of the hazards of a chemical, such as causes damage to kidneys through prolonged or repeated exposure when absorbed through the skin. All of the applicable hazard statements must appear on the label. The hazard statements are specific to the hazard classification categories, and chemical users should always see the same statement for the same hazards, no matter what the chemical is or who produces it. Pictograms. Here are some common examples: health hazard diamond, carcinogen, mutagenicity, reproductive toxicity, respiratory sensitizer, target organ toxicity, aspiration toxicity. Flame diamond, flammables, pyrophorics, self-heating, emits flammable gas, self-reactives, organic peroxides. Exclamation mark diamond, irritant, skin and eye, skin sensitizer, acute toxicity, harmful, narcotic effects, respiratory tract irritant, hazardous to ozone layer, non-mandatory. Gas cylinder diamond, gases under pressure. Corrosion diamond, skin corrosion, burns. Eye damage, corrosive to metals. Exploding bomb diamond, explosives, self-reactives, organic peroxides. Flame over circle diamond, oxidizers. Environment diamond, non-mandatory. This example, aquatic toxicity. Skull and crossbones diamond, acute toxicity, fatal or toxic. There are 4 types of precautionary statements. They give information regarding prevention, to minimize exposure, response, in case of accidental spillage or exposure, emergency response and first aid, storage, and disposal. Original manufacturer label, sample. Here's an example of a manufacturer's label for the substance methanol. On the left-hand side, we can see the pictograms that we've covered previously, as well as the name, address, and telephone number of the manufacturer in case we need to contact them. On the right-hand side are the precautionary statements. These include highly flammable liquid and vapor, toxic if swallowed, in contact with skin or if inhaled, causes damage to organs. Keep away from heat, sparks, open flames, hot surfaces, no smoking. Do not breathe dust, fume, gas, mist, vapors, or spray. Wear protective gloves and protective clothing. If swallowed, immediately call a poison center or doctor or physician. If exposed, call a poison center or doctor or physician. See Materials Safety Data Sheet for further details regarding safe use of this product. Secondary containers must also be properly labeled. Here's an example of all the required information for a secondary container. On the left-hand side, we see the product identifier, the supplier identification, and any precautionary statements about the substance. On the right-hand side are the pictograms, as well as the single word, in this case danger. Below that, the hazard statements. Below that would be any supplemental information, including directions of use and an expiration date if required for the substance. Safety Data Sheets, SDS. Safety Data Sheets, SDS. The chemical manufacturer, distributor, or importer provides safety data sheets, SDS, formerly known as MSDS or Material Safety Data Sheet, for each hazardous chemical to communicate information on these hazards. Sections 1 through 8 contain general information about the chemical, identification, hazards, composition, safe handling practices, and emergency control measures, for example, firefighting. Sections 9 through 11 and 16 contain other technical and scientific information, such as physical and chemical properties, stability and reactivity information, toxicological information, exposure control information, and other information including the date of preparation or last revision. Sections 12 through 15 are non-mandatory and contain information to be consistent with the UN Globally Harmonized System of Classification and Labeling for Chemicals, GHS. The SDS must also state that no applicable information was found when the preparer does not find relevant information for any required element. If no hazard is present in the chemical, the SDS must also include that information. Chemical storage. Guidelines. The chemical storage area should be kept clean and orderly. Safety equipment and supplies should be available and functional. Chemicals should be stored per instructions on the safety data sheet. Organization of the chemical storage area should follow the Flynn Chemical Storage Pattern Chart. Here's an example of the Flynn organizational chart. It has the suggested shelf storage patterns for organics and inorganic chemicals. If you need a copy of this resource for your chemical storage room, please reach out to Risk Management. Storage facility requirements. No chemicals stored above eye level. No chemicals stored on the floor. Do not use sinks for chemical storage or secondary containment. Shelves and cabinets are secured firmly to the walls. If over 36 inches high, cabinets and shelves are to be bolted to the wall. Earthquake lips or barriers are in place for storage shelves. Storage cabinet for corrosive chemicals, separate cabinets for acids and bases are on site and appropriately used. Storage cabinet for flammables is on site and used properly. Poisons are secured. The storage area never exceeds 25 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Fahrenheit. The storeroom door is self-closing and is locked. There is adequate ventilation, including fume hood if needed, and the area is isolated from the rest of the building. Room air is changed 4 times an hour. Compressed gas cylinders are secured upright to the wall with caps in place. Flammable gases are separated from oxidizing gases by a 1-hour rated firewall or at least 25 feet. There are 1 or more non-reactive waste receptacles made of plastic or crockery. Chemical inventory. Chemical inventory should include name of chemical, quantity, received by date, shelf life code, or expiration date. Expiration date versus shelf life. Expiration date, a specific date a chemical manufacturer has deemed a substance has become non-viable for laboratory use, uses a hard date, month, year. For example, 12/2022. Shelf life. The amount of time a properly packed and stored chemical will last without going chemical or physical change. Does not employ a specific date. Uses a set of terms to determine stability in ideal locations. Flynn guidelines. Shelf life terms. Poor. Shelf life of less than a year. Fair. Shelf life of 1 to 3 years. Good. Shelf life of 3 to 5 years. Excellent. Shelf life of 5 years maximum. Indefinite. Shelf life of 10 years maximum. Special. Shelf life affected by surrounding conditions. Consult label or SDS for storage instructions. Best management practice. Any chemicals not used within 10 years of their received on dates should be rotated out of inventory and disposed of through the proper channels, regardless of labeled shelf life. Hazardous waste. Hazardous waste labels. All hazardous waste must be labeled. Label must include the words hazardous waste. Wording such as federal law prohibits improper disposal. If found, contact the nearest police or public safety authority, or the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or the California Department of Toxic Substance Control. Must include the start date of accumulation. Sites may not store hazardous waste for more than 180 days from the first day of accumulation. The composition, name of waste, and physical state, gas, liquid, solid, sludge. A description of the hazardous properties of the waste, flammable, reactive, etc. The name, address, and EPA ID number of the generator. The site is the generator. Here's an example of a properly filled out hazardous waste label. It includes the accumulation start date, the EPA ID number, the generator's name and address, the content compositions, its physical state, and hazardous properties. Waste disposal. Lids. All containers must be closed with appropriate lids to prevent accidental spills or evaporation of substances. Containers for waste must be closed when not being filled. Waste treatment. Anytime a chemical waste undergoes a process which changes its physical or chemical properties, it is classified by the state and county as waste treatment. This includes simple evaporation. We are not classified as a waste treatment facility. EGUSD is subject to fines by the state and county for treatment violations. Hazardous waste removal, chemical. Elk Grove Unified School District is a small quantity generator. This means hazardous waste must be removed from site every 6 months, 180 days. Semi-annual removals via vendor will be scheduled by risk management. Site responsibilities, information requests will go to each site via email twice per year. Prepare a chemical inventory of materials for disposal. Indicate how much material needs to be removed. Identify where the material is located on site. Include the name and phone number of a contact person on site. If chemicals need to be removed from site prior to the next scheduled pickup, contact Risk Management for assistance. You can contact Rob Teresi at rteresii@egusd.net or Mindy Richardson at marichar@egusd.net. Hazardous waste removal, vendor role. Risk management will schedule removal with the vendor. The vendor will come out to site and package materials for transport, remove materials for disposal, and leave empty replacement receptacle. Hazardous waste removal, biological. Biological waste includes petri dishes, culture tubes, syringes and needles, blood vials, absorbent materials, pipette tips, specimen waste, positive COVID rapid tests. Make sure you have disposal materials on hand. Red biohazard bags, hard-sided bio-waste containers. Proper method of disposal. Biological waste must be placed in a red biohazard bag first. Then place red biohazard bag in a hard-sided bio-waste container. Specimen waste typically contains formalin. However, they are not fully preserved. Please contact Risk Management promptly to arrange pickup or to request disposal materials. Phone number 916-686-7775 or email Mindy Richardson, marichar @egusd.net or Rob Teresi, rteresii@egusd.net. Chemical spill and material release. Minor spill. For a minor spill of known chemicals, follow these procedures. Take immediate steps to prevent spilled materials from entering drains and spreading to other environmentally sensitive areas. Place absorbent materials around the perimeter of the spill, blocking the drain. Consult Safety Data Sheet, SDS, for further information. Keep written records of all incidents. Notify Risk Management at 916-686-7775. Larger spill or release. If a spill is beyond the cleanup capacity of the person who created the spill or custodial staff, follow these procedures. Notify safety and security via emergency radio or at 916-686-7786. Notify the principal and the classroom teacher, if not already aware, and have them call 911 and share the following information: name of spilled materials, location of spill, and approximate volume of spilled material. Evacuate all students from the classroom using the steps in the evacuation procedure, a separate site-specific document. Evacuate all adjacent classrooms if the spread of contamination is enough to affect them. Do not permit any persons to enter the spill area, have contact with the spilled material, or place themselves at risk unless they have the appropriate training and PPE. Take immediate steps to prevent spilled materials from entering drains or spreading to other environmentally sensitive areas. Place absorbent materials around the perimeter of the spill and blocking drains. The fire department may dispatch their hazard material emergency response team, HAZMAT, to handle the spill. The HAZMAT incident commander is usually the fire department chief and is the senior person responsible for directing all activities during the cleanup effort. The incident commander will determine when it is safe to reoccupy the building or classroom. Additional information: VAPA, Industrial Arts. Hazardous waste, paint, less than 20 gallons. In California, paint is considered hazardous waste regardless of its composition. Do not leave paint cans open to dry out. This is considered a form of waste treatment which is not covered under our county permit. Small amounts of paint, under 20 gallons, can be taken to authorized recycle centers and dropped off free of charge. Authorized centers in Elk Grove include Kelly Moore Paint Center, 10299 East Stockton Boulevard, Elk Grove, California, 95624, or the City of Elk Grove Special Waste Collection Center, 9255 Disposal Lane, Elk Grove, California, 95624. Paint, more than 20 gallons. If a pickup for quantities greater than 20 gallons is needed, contact Risk Management for a waste pickup. Rob Teresi, email rteresii@egusd.net. Mindy Richardson, email marichar@egusd.net. Hazardous waste. Clay. Clay is considered hazardous waste. OSHA has identified crystalline silica as an occupational hazard, substance found in almost all ceramics clay. Ceramics workshops should be kept clean and free of accumulated dust. Storage of dry clay for recycling should be kept at a reasonable level. Any container used for storage should have a lid to minimize exposure to any breathable dust. Dry clay may not be disposed of in the conventional trash. Hazardous waste. Used oil, oil filters. Used motor oil. Stored in containers of no more than 55 gallons in size. Containers must be clearly labeled with the words used oil, clearly marked with the date that the first used oil is placed in the container. Used oil filters must be drained of all oil, placed in a rain-proof, non-leaking closed container that can capture any used oil that continues to drain from the filters. The container of used filters must be labeled as drained used oil filters, clearly marked with the date that the first used oil filter is placed in the container. Used oily rags, stored separately in a container clearly labeled with the words used oily rags, clearly marked with the date that the first used oily rag is placed into the container. Stormwater. Urban runoff, stormwater from rainfall and outdoor watering, picks up oil, dirt, litter, and other materials on the ground and in the streets. These materials can affect the water supply and the surrounding environment. Water entering the storm drain system should pass through a biofilter such as a grassy swale or straw wattle, pictured here, to filter contaminants as much as possible. Never dump chemicals or unfiltered soap rinse it down the storm drains. Remember, only rain down the drain. Questions? If you have questions about the material presented in this training, contact Risk Management at 916-686-7775 or email Rob Teresi, rteresii@egusd.net, or Mindy Richardson, marichar@egusd.net.